Introducing the first Marvel movie that occasionally makes you forget it's a Marvel movie.
And that's a good thing.
It's Shang-Chi. If you've never heard of Shang-Chi before, it's probably because you were pronouncing it Shang-Chi. It's also known as the movie Disney can't stream because they're getting sued by Scarlett Johansson. Or as the Disney executives like to say, it's an experiment with Asian people. Or maybe he didn't say those last two words, but he might as well have. Because he did publicly call it an experiment, which is...
That's gotta be racist. There's no way. I'm gonna just keep it real. There's no way that is like...
Just goes to show you that all this social justice stuff Disney does is just performance art. Because if this was the Spider-Man movie, they would not be using it as an experiment. Then you have publications like Forbes coming to the defense of Disney claiming they are not racist. Oh wow, I totally believe you guys. Thank you, corporation, for telling me that other corporation is good. But I do have to point out the hypocrisy that your publication ran an article about how the corporate anti-Asian hate rhetoric was, quote, not a marketing moment. That companies really do care about Asians. Staying quiet on big social and political issues is no longer an option. Demonstrations of corporate activism aren't new, and in many ways, mirror companies' response to the killing of George Floyd and Black Lives Matter. Wow, they really do care a lot about social activism. Or maybe they only care about this anti-racism rhetoric when it suits them financially, because they really have no problem throwing the Asian-led movie under the bus to test if it's safe to release the movie starring 9 white guys. And don't worry, they got Forbes to back them up to let you know that it's definitely not racist. Well, it doesn't matter that Disney threw Shang-Chi under the bus because the bus was ripped in half and then it turned into a dragon. I want to say I feel like I saw Kamehameha in this movie. I know not the actual move, the Kamehameha, but there's a shot that is so clearly inspired by Goku in Dragon Ball Z. Really, there were several shots that reminded me of Dragon Ball Z, and I hope that's not racist. I got a lot of great things to say about this movie, but let's start off with some of the things that bothered me. And this is more directed at Marvel than it is at this movie, but this movie did it the worst out of any Marvel movie I've ever seen. Marvel, why the hell does no one stab each other anymore in your movies? Every frickin' weapon in this movie was a rounded off electric baton. One dude had a sword for a hand, but I never even saw him use it. He never stabbed anyone with it. Besides the 10 rings, I thought every single weapon in this movie could have greatly been improved. And like 45 more people should have been stabbed in this movie. I think it was 0. I think there was 0 stabbings. The number is way too low for an action movie where every single fucking person is holding a weapon in their hands. As soon as I saw the post-credit scene with Captain Marvel, it took me right out of the movie. Luckily, the movie was over. Whenever I see her as Captain Marvel, with the exception of a few scenes in Avengers Endgame, I'm very aware that she's acting.
Water?
You're offering me water, but somehow I'm not buying that you are really offering me water.
They cut back to the stuff that I don't really care about too much in the finale. The movie would have greatly benefited from uninterrupted scenes of Shang-Chi. Alright, let's get to the good stuff. The climactic battle at the end of this movie was definitely earned and had some really amazing surprises, which was a dragon.
Tony Leung is probably easily one of my favorite actors.
His scene where he takes his son to murder the men that killed his wife is one of the best scenes in the movie. It's been the scene that has definitely stuck with me the most since I saw it in theaters. I said months ago after the release of the first trailer that this movie looked like a real movie and not just a watered down Marvel kung fu flick. I would like to say that's still mostly true. There was a lot of Marvel stuff and Marvel humor and Marvel rules that they had to insert into this movie, but for the most part, this movie handles all of that gracefully and it really stands on its own. I think it's probably one of the best origin story movies we've gotten from Marvel in years. The fight choreography in this movie blew me away, as well as a lot of the camera work and the color grading of the shots. Thank God the action in this movie actually came out looking like a martial arts film. I think one of my favorite fight scene moments is when Shang-Chi unexpectedly decks that guy in the chest with one blow and sends him flying on the bus. I don't think I've ever felt a standard punch so hard in a Marvel movie. It really set the tone for all of the action in the rest of the film. This movie was definitely worth getting COVID for. I actually got COVID and gave someone COVID while seeing this movie because I saw it twice. So the first time I went, I caught it, and then on my rewatch, I made sure to give it to the white trash couple next to me, which really I was surprised they were there because, you know, like racism and stuff. But surprisingly, they liked it, but they also caught COVID from me. So maybe their opinion on the film has changed, I don't know. But anyway, if you're gonna catch or give anyone COVID at the movies this fall, I would definitely recommend doing it to this experiment. I like the actor Simu Liu for several reasons. First off, it's been way too long since Marvel has cast an unknown actor in a leading role. I'm glad they're still open to that idea because it really helped with being immersed in the movie. To go from a stock photo model to having the #1 movie in the world in a few years is a story that I think fans love to get behind. He fan casted himself into this movie on Twitter a few years ago, and I even remember seeing the tweet and rolling my eyes at it, because I was like, all right, they only want to cast big name actors now, guy. There's no way a Twitter campaign is ever going to get you starring in a Marvel movie.
Now, obviously, the tweet thing is brought up all the time. I'm not going to ask you to tell the story again. I'm going to try and summarize it. You did a tweet.
Thank you.
Later, you did another tweet.
Yes.
And then, once you got the gig, you responded to one of the tweets and said, lol.
Uh-huh.
Now, that isn't why you got the job. Kevin Feige has said, I didn't see the tweet. You got the job because you're great at your job. And that's the story.
That's the story.
Could everybody stop asking Simo about the tweets?
That'd be really nice, actually. Thank you.
Are we done? We'll just put a bow on it and it's done now.
I thought the lol would definitely have put the coffin on it, you know? The lol is the recognition of the tweet and coming back full circle and putting the lol stamp on it.
And in caps, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah. LOL!
He actually ended up on poorly aged things for like the funniest reason. He kind of put his foot in his mouth because he was saying that nothing should ever be debuted on Fortnite, and that it's the Jar Jar Binks of video games. And then 1 year later, his movie character is featured in the game right before his movie's release, essentially doing what he was making fun of. But I don't really think that makes him a sellout. I think it makes him kind of relatable. Feels like something I would do. I enjoy making fun of Fortnite too, but if he offered me a janitor character in the game, I would say, where the hell do I sign up? You know what he didn't sell out on though, which is way more important, just goes to show you this guy's true character? He didn't budge on his China comments, which is actually his home country. He said life was hard as a child there, and he issued no apology or retracted any statements despite pissing China off for saying this. So just to recap, John Cena apologizes to China for saying Taiwan is a country. The actress Liu Yufei, who starred in Mulan, basically praised China and sided with Hong Kong police over pro-democracy demonstrators, despite starring in a movie about fighting against oppression. But Simu Liu starred in a Marvel movie that's biggest market could be a successful China release, and he just seems so unbothered or unwavering on his China stance. So good for this guy, and I guess good for Disney too for not forcing him to apologize yet, but that remains to be seen, so maybe this will be another poorly aged thing in a couple months. Also, I'm glad they didn't just insert a white guy randomly and awkwardly into this movie so audiences could have a white guy to relate to. I'm looking at you, Black Panther. I guess you could make the case that this guy was the white guy they inserted into the movie, but he barely had any lines and wasn't really distracting in any way because he was like the 10-ring soldier or general or whatever. I want to give you guys one last reason I enjoyed this movie, and it might be the most important reason, and hopefully will give you some perspective on my channel and keep you coming back to the Janitor Show for unbiased reviews. There was a lot of YouTubers that seemed to be rooting for this movie's failure.
I haven't even seen the movie yet.
I guess it helps them in some way. I don't really understand it. But for me personally, I never really want to get involved in a culture war. I'll just tell you whether I think the movie was good or not. The fact that I hated The Last Jedi and enjoyed The Last of Us 2 should tell you that I truly have no allies and mostly only enemies. Some that have even tried to blackmail me, and I'm not even kidding about that. Maybe one day the story will come out, but for now, I have to use this as an opportunity to point out that it's all about politics for some of these channels, and politics are retarded. There is no reason to label movie as Democratic or Republican because we are living in a world that is perpetually engulfed in a giant flame of hypocrisy, regardless of whose side you're on. I promise you that both sides suck very hard. Just do what I do and take 90 milligrams of edibles and pretend like you're living somewhere else. And every once in a while, a movie will come along and capture your attention long enough to transport you to another world for a few hours. Shang-Chi did that beautifully. Actual real-life cinema score, 3 out of 5. Marvel comic book movie score, 8.5 out of 10. See you next time, Janitor Squad.